So the dream started with me and my wife in a triage tent, like a shelter type place, where there were cots everywhere and everyone had their bags packed and stuff, and there was lots of people in there. And there were nurses going around helping people, and I could tell that we had evacuated from somewhere and we were being taken care of in this tent. And the pastor of our church came in the tent and shouted to everyone and said, "Hey, we've just received news that a bombing is going to happen on this location, and we need to get out right now." So everyone started panicking, alarms started going off, everyone started packing their bags, and my wife Mandy started packing her bag. And I remember I looked at her and I thought in the moment it was important to tell her, "Don't forget your phone charger." She said, I know. And so she packed it away. And I had to, for some reason, I had to go get an Apple TV off of a TV in another tent, but it was drilled in, and I told her to go on without me. I got to get this Apple TV for some reason. Apparently technology is very important in times of crisis. But we all evacuated, and we ended up staying in the woods surrounding my college that I went to years ago, called Columbia International University. So we stayed in these woods out in the surrounding acres of the school, and we had like more tents set up there, and we were just trying to stay clear of these bombings and hide away. And it ended up being like a really nice community, and people were hanging out, and there was like a makeshift swimming pool that someone had made from, like directing the water from the river to gather in this pool, and everyone was sitting around on the edges, and we were laughing, and we were all happy that we were safe, and it was just very pleasant. And while I was swimming in the pool with my wife, a guy that I work with named Jonathan came to me and he said, "Hey, you never believe what I just found. You need to come with me. I just found this really cool thing." So I dried off and we started walking through the woods, and there was this old abandoned bridge that was really high up, and we were on the ground looking up at this bridge, and there were these giant concrete pillars holding the bridge up, and at the bottom of the pillar on the right there was a hatch, like a small door, and he said, "Come on, we got to go through this hatch." And we opened the door, and it turned out that there was a huge underground facility constructed by the college, but that was intended to be hidden from people. And it was like a VIP resort area, very high class. There was just like restaurants and bars, very nice rooms to stay in, common areas with like leather couches and big huge plasma screen TVs, but it was completely empty, and there was no electricity. It was almost like it was abandoned. And we just started exploring, and I was like, man, this is super cool. We could move everyone in here and we could live here. But as we started exploring, this is a part of the dream that felt very strange. It felt like it meant something. We opened this door and found a huge tunnel. It was very big. And from floor to wall to ceiling, everything was covered in stones, like flat washed stones. And it did this like S shape, and it was like a general incline going up. And every like 20 feet, there were big circle plaques on the ground that were a name of a tribe of Israel. If you're familiar with the Bible, there's 12 tribes of Israel. And every 20 feet, there was a new tribe. And you were supposed to stop at each one, and it was like a prayer track you were supposed to go on. And each tribe meant something different, and you were supposed to kneel and pray something specific to that tribe or something. And so I kept moving up, and I was like, man, this is really unique and cool. And I kept looking, and as I got to the 12th tribe, I looked ahead, and at the very end, there's a 13th circle, and on the 13th circle was the Ark of the Covenant. And it definitely looked like the Ark from Raiders of the Lost Ark, the Indiana Jones movie. But when I saw it, I remember being so overwhelmed with the reality that it was the actual Ark of the Covenant, and I was terrified of God's presence in the Ark. And I remember I got on my knees before the Ark and wept uncontrollably, like just shaking, crying, in awe, but also just in fear of God. And as I was crying, I looked up into my front left, so like 10 o'clock. There was a glass door, and outside the glass door was my dad. And my dad looked at me, and he was crying, and he gave me a thumbs up and said, "Love you, bud." And when I stood up, I went to go be with him, and we hugged. More or less, that was the end of the dream. There was a little bit more, but it's just pointless. But that was the end of the dream. And I woke up feeling very strange from it. So, anyway, that's that. Thanks for listening.